All right. Okay, so it's 1 o'clock. I think it's a good time for us to get started here. Couple of administrative things. I'm going to go through a demonstration of our tardy management solution for PowerSchool. And then at the end, we're going to open up the floor to questions. So when you have a question, please go ahead in the chat area. You can type, you can raise your hand, you can type your question in there, and we will answer your questions as they come in. So, okay, so first of all, thank you. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. What a busy time of year, and I really appreciate your time. Today, I'm going to show you our tardy management solutions for PowerSchool. And these solutions are front office solutions that are designed to help you automate all those manual processes that you have to manage to when your students are coming in late to the building, right? So you have all kinds of stuff. You're writing hall passes, you're putting attendance into PowerSchool. You're wanting to keep track of their tardies. Maybe you're assigning comments or consequences based on the time that they come in or the number of tardies that has been reached. So we have automated all of that for you in our PowerSchool plugins, and I'm excited to show them to you today. So, all right, let's get started here. Brian Adams is here. He's helping on the technical side for this webinar. Brian, would you mind opening up my screen share capability? Cool, there it is. All right, thanks, Brian. Okay, so let's get started here. So here we have PowerSchool, the ever familiar start page. A couple of things I want to point out before I get started. Something looks a little different on my page than probably yours. I have a scan window. This is our finger scan ID management scan window that allows you to use biometric finger scanning to identify your students to PowerSchool. It is one option that you can use with your Tardy plugin. It is not the only option. Today, I'm going to be demonstrating using both. I'll be demonstrating showing you how to manually enter an ID number and also using finger scanning. You can use finger scan ID to bring in the student's ID number. You can manually enter on a keyboard, just like you possibly do right now. You could use a barcode if you're using ID cards, or you could use a pin pad that's connected to the computer that the students could type their ID number into. So again, scan window, use it for finger scanning, for ID input into PowerSchool, not required. I happen to be a big fan of finger scanning for all the reasons, including accuracy, efficiency, and speed. Okay, so let's go into PowerSchool. What I first want to do is I want to take you into our solution to show you how it performs. So I'm going to show you what it would look like if your front office staff was using this on a daily basis. So we're going to start there. Once I show you that, then we're going to go behind the scenes, and I'm going to show you exactly how simple it is to configure our plugin to get you up and running and automate that tardy process that you're managing to right now. Okay, so left navigation bar, I have an option called attendance. I'm going to select attendance from the navigation bar. And when I do, a couple things I want to point out here. Notice my daily tab is selected. This particular solution is a daily solution. We are going to be writing to the student's daily attendance record. This is not writing to the meeting record. Whatever your teachers are doing on the meeting side of things, they must continue to do, but we are going to show you how to automate the tardy process with your students coming through the front office and append their daily record. Okay, let's move over to this link here. I have a link that's going to bring us to a page that's going to be the page that your front office staff will have up and running when your students are coming in late to the building. So let's go through a particular scenario. We have students coming into the building. It's the start of a school day. Your on-time students are going to funnel right into their regular classes. And then at some juncture, they're not on time anymore. They're tardy, and they're coming into the front office. Probably many of you are dealing with lines. You have lines of people that are lines of students that are going out the door, and you're trying to hurry up and get everything done. So you have your on-time students funnel into class, your late students are coming into the front office. Your front office staff will have this page up and ready to go. This particular page is split into two areas. The top area, these are our configurable options. It gives us a timestamp and a code that we're using for this particular scanning period, a hall pass option to print out that hall pass for the code that we're using. And then we see the cursor flashing here, waiting for that student's ID input. Again, barcode, pin pad, manual entry, or finger scan option. That's the top half of this screen. The bottom half of the screen right down here, this is going to list all of the daily attendance records for the students that are coming through the building. Okay, all of the daily students, all of the daily attendance records are going to be listed in the order that they come in. This is the daily view. So let's go through this, and I want you to pay real close attention because I'm going to scan my finger and we're going to see a hall pass come up. There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen in that 2 seconds from the time that I scan my finger until that hall pass comes up. So let's take a look real closely here. And I have my finger scanner. I'm going to place my finger on the scanner. And if you see what just happened here, my hall pass is going to print for my student that just scanned. Let's bring this in real close. Emmy Alberg, she signed in today at 1 o'clock. The class that Emmy has on her bell schedule at the time she scanned in is listed on my hall pass. The attendance code and the status that is recorded on this hall pass, that is pulled from your attendance bank, and it's pulling from the code that was chosen for this scan session. The tardy count is recorded, and there's a comment based on that tardy threshold that was reached that is now on this hall pass that you're going to print out and pass to your student. We go back to our scan page after our student scans, and we are ready for the next student. Had a little pause in there when that hall pass came up, just so that I could show you what it looked like. But here we are back to that scan page, and all of that happened in about 2 seconds. So let's take a look here at Emmy's record as it appears on our scan page. We see some real useful information. We know what her student number is, the grade she's in, the time she scanned, the code that was assigned to her scanning session, as well as the total number of tardies that Emmy has accrued for this particular school year. A couple of things I do want to point out. I've chosen tardy for this particular scan session as my default. But if I want to change my code on this scan screen, I can use the drop-down menu. And then what you see right here is a list of attendance codes that are pulled from my bank. So if we were to have this installed on your instance of PowerSchool, then when we clicked on that drop-down, your attendance bank codes would present here as well. So just keep that in mind. You can toggle back and forth or select a default. Either way would be fine. Okay, let's go into Emmy's attendance record and let's see how that recorded. I'm going to go back into it, use my breadcrumbs here to navigate over to that daily code. I'm going to choose my tardy. I'm going to pull Emmy up. Let's see what happened here. Today's Thursday, the 18th. Yep, here we are, Thursday the 18th. Here it is. The activity that we just saw when Emmy scanned is recorded here on the daily record. Notice a couple of things here. We have the code that appended her daily record, and we also have a timestamp that appended her daily record as well. This particular feature and functionality is optional. So we have two plugins that you could choose from. There's two differences between the two Tardy plugins that we offer. The one difference is the price point, and then the second difference is going to be whether or not you need the clock in and clock out fields appended. For this particular scanning session, or this particular scan that I did with Emmy, I wanted to show you how the clock in and clock out fields were appended for that particular scan. The clock in time shows the time Emmy came into the building. The clock out time shows the end of the day for the bell schedule for that school. Some people don't need to use the clock in and clock out functionality, and our basic plugin will not write to these fields, but all the other functionality between the two plugins is identical. So let me show you how it would look if we scanned using the basic, where we were not using the clock in and clock out fields being appended. And we'll go through the process again. I'm a attendance clerk. I'm logging into PowerSchool in the morning. I'm ready for my tardy kids to come through the building, and I'm going to select attendance. I'm going to select my link that brings me to my scan page, and I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm going to switch up this attendance code right now just to show you how that looks. And again, my cursor is flashing here in the scan finger to continue box. Again, I'm just going to always repeat this. Finger scan ID can be used, barcode, manual entry, or pin pad. Any of the above will work just fine. So let me go ahead and I'm going to type in a number here instead of using my finger scanner as I showed you before, so that you can actually see another number come in. So I'm just going to put in, oh gosh, let me grab this number here. I'm manually typing in 29, okay, just as an attendance clerk might do if you're not using any other input device. I had to hit enter on that because this will bring up the hall pass. I'm going to zoom in nice and close. Here's our friend Justin. Justin, again, I have a date and a timestamp, just like I did when I used the finger scan. It's going to work the exact same. I have his name, the class that Justin needs to be going to during this time on his bell schedule. I've chose a different attendance code. Again, it's pulling from my bank and the code that was chosen for the scan session. I have a total tardy count for Justin, and I also have a consequence that's associated with that particular threshold. Justin, again, he was the last one that scanned in. His name is going to bump up above Emmy because he came in later. Let's take a look at Justin's attendance code. Navigate back using our breadcrumbs and go into our tardy kids and grab our friend Justin, and let's see how his daily record looks. A little bit different than Emmy's does. So notice on Justin's daily record, because I'm using the option that doesn't include the clock in and clock out features to be appended with a timestamp, I'm seeing an attendance code. Okay, so this might be good for you potentially if you're not needing to report on the clock in and clock out values for the meeting side, for the daily side. So again, just a distinction. I want to pop in here because I do want to show you something really important. Even though we are not typing into the clock in and clock out fields, you would still have a timestamp with our standard version. Okay, it's going to go into the comment field, so you would always have that for reference. And you can append this with, you know, other comments in here if you wanted, or if there was an additional scan, you would have a secondary scan appended in the comment area. Okay, so I'm going to back out of here for just a minute, and I want to go back to the scan page before we go behind the scenes to show how it's configured, because there's this other really wonderful feature of our plugin that I know many of you will find very useful. Again, I'm the attendance clerk. I need to get to my scan page. I select attendance from the left navigation bar under functions, and I'm going back to my link, and I'm bringing up my scan page. Over here is another link to a printing page. Let's go take a look at our printing page. Our printing page is a little bit different than our scan page. Our scan page is our daily view. Okay, so every day when your attendance clerk is logging into PowerSchool and they're opening up for the day, and they use that left navigation bar to click on attendance and then move over into that link that brings up the scan page, their scan page will be empty, okay, at the start of the day. And then as the daily records come in, you'll see that fill up. The printing page, a little bit different. The printing page is a cumulative view. So it gives you the ease and flexibility to take the data that you have collected, switch it and sort it, filter it, and make sure that it gets to the people who need to see it so that you can utilize that data best. So let's take a look here. We have a basic filter function. This is not part of the plugin, that's just part of PowerSchool. But let me show you what is part of the plugin. We have some advanced filter options that when we click on these, take a look at all these wonderful options that are at your fingertips, okay? Let's go through a scenario, like a use case here. We're dealing with tardies, right? So our job is to try to mitigate the number of tardies. We're trying to get in front of those kids so that we don't see that turn into more tardies or absenteeism or potentially truancy. If you wanted to know the total number of tardies, let's say for a subset, maybe you want to know all of your tardy number 3s. This is an early intervention use case, and you want to find out everybody who has number 3 because you want to get in front of them. You want to send this to your early intervention team, your assistant principals, or whoever is in charge of that to find out what's going on. Hey, you got 3 tardies. You know, tardy number 6 is going to end up in a detention. Let's get ahead of these kids. You can sort on your total number of tardies, grab that subset of students who have had 3 tardies in a particular time period, send that off to the person who is going to be able to do their job more efficiently. So that's one use case for using this particular reporting page. Another use case, let's say number 6 is our detentions, and Mr. Jones is going to be dealing with all of the detention kids. He needs to know who's showing up in his room. We go ahead, sort on our tardy number 6s, copy that information into just send it off in an email to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, here's everybody that you should see in room 132 today. These are our detention kids. So again, easy, useful way to sort our data. And this page is cumulative, as opposed to this page, which is our daily view. Again, this view on the bottom half, empty when you come in. So this is a fantastic solution. It automates everything that you're doing in a manual fashion right now. And it writes to the daily record directly, real time into PowerSchool. All right, so I promised a little sneak peek in the back. Let's go and take a look at how everything is configured. So I'm in my school right here, Apple Grove High School. I'm going to navigate into the configuration area by going into School Setup. There are 2 areas that we set up for our plugin. They're basic, straightforward, and simple. We can have this configured in about 30 minutes for you. So the first area that we set up is our cleverly named our attendance setup. And so I'm going to look at this page, if you will, and you can see that there's 3 basic areas that just require our attention and some decision making. We have a main setting area, print slip settings, and then we have our preset tardy comment. So let's start here at the top. This is where we're defining how our scan page looks, what we want our default attendance code to be, if we want to return to that default after each person scans, if we want a hall pass that's associated with the use of the plugin, student number or student ID. The plugin gives you a choice. Most people are using student number, but certainly there could be some that are using student ID, so we give you the option here. Total tardy count period. This gives you the flexibility to accrue those total tardies over the course of a school year, or if I look at my drop down, I can choose to reset them after each semester, quarter, however PowerSchool is defined for you. I happen to be set up on my partner server here as a semester on a semester basis. If I'm using the clock in, clock out plugin, remember we have a standard plugin and then which does not append the clock in and clock out fields. And we have the other plugin, the minute-based plugin, which actually appends the clock in and clock out field. So here, depending upon which plugin you have, this would call for you to choose a yes or a no. Scanning page and printing page. These are the pages that we're using in PowerSchool or HTML pages. We don't want to bog them down. So we usually like to limit the number of records that are displayed so PowerSchool loads super quickly. Not that the information isn't available for you. It's just about the page loading up with efficiency and speed. So our main settings area, pretty straightforward. Couple decisions to make, and then we're ready to move down here to our print slip settings. This is all about how we want our hall pass to look. what we can have these options. I typically turn all of these on, right? We want the attendance comment on the hall pass. We want to have the class that the student needs to be going to when they scan into the building. We want their attendance code and the total count, and we usually like to print that the comment associated with the tardy threshold. It really becomes part of the culture, right? So when a student gets handed this slip and they see, oh, tardy number 3, and they're looking at, oh, one more means a detention, like they start it becomes part of their culture and the attendance culture. And the idea here is that we're trying to affect change, right? And this tardy management solution really gives you an easy way to do that. And this, the district logo, I think it makes the hall pass look really, really nice. So it just takes a minute. You have to get a little PNG or a JPEG file, 250 by 250 in the pixel range, upload that to your district images, to the images folder in the district office, and we can add it here to the logo. It does make it look really, really nice. Last section down here, preset tardy comments. So each tardy threshold, you have the ability to add a comment or a consequence based on that threshold that's been reached. So we give you 50 of these. I know it's a lot, but there could be some league leaders here. So you have 50 options here to fill in. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Don't want to make anybody dizzy by going too fast, but give you that overview again. The first area of configuration, main settings, which define our scan page. Print slip settings, how our hall pass is going to look, and our preset tardy comments, the consequences or comments that are associated with the tardy threshold that is reached. Okay, that's the first area. I'm use my breadcrumbs here. I'm going to go back into my school setup. Second area is going to be the attendance codes. Here is where we define the behavior that the plugin will provide with the attendance code that's chosen. So let's take a look at two different ones. I'm going to look at one that's set up for clock in and clock out usage, and then we're going to look at one that's set up for just standard usage, not appending those clock in and clock out fields. So tardy here, I'm going to click on my tardy code. My plugin installed brings these additional setup options in that we need to address. Okay, the three quick and easy ones to talk about are check boxes in using the code in the tardy count, using the code to print a hall pass, or including the code on the printing reporting page. Okay, so I want to say yes to all of that because that's information that I want to see in all of those areas. My clock in and clock out usage is going to be set to a particular plan based on how I want it to respond when that code is used with my plugin. So for the tardy code, what I want to happen is I want the scan time, this time the student enters that front office and scans, to append the clock in field. And I want the end of the day for the bell schedule to append the clock out field. And so this plan B is the behavior that is assigned to this tardy code for use with the minute-based plugin. 4 simple areas that need to be addressed, decisions made on these, and you submit it. We're ready to go with this code. Let me show you a code setup that would be for a non-minute based, a basic or standard tardy management plugin. So I'm going to go into our tardy code, and again, looks very similar, but I'm not selecting a plan because I'm not using clock in and clock out functionality. And here, boxes 1, 2, and 3 are checked because I want this code included in the tardy comment. I want to see that code print out a hall pass, and I want to see it on my printing reporting page. So simple setup, 2 areas, an area that that's the main settings that we just reviewed, and then our attendance codes need to be set up to configure them for the behavior that we want to see when a student uses that code to scan. By the way, I'm using scan just because I don't want to keep saying all of them, but it's scan, barcode scan, finger scan, manual entry, keyboard entry. So again, any of those options can be used with our plugin. Okay. So configure, so we saw how it works. We saw the performance in a front office scenario solution. Again, it is a front office solution. We are writing to the daily record. You have the option to utilize the plugin to either write to the clock in and clock out fields on the daily record or not. Again, plugins are identical. That's a difference and the price point. And it gives you some wonderful reporting options so that you can go ahead and get in front of these kids and situations that you're trying to manage. So it's a fantastic solution to support you and provide you an automated way to deal with more than likely that manual tardy management process that you're trying to work with every single day. So that is my show, and I would love to hear from you. So if you have questions, Brian, if you want to ask, Brian will pop in here and ask some of the questions, but I'm here to answer any questions that you have, and bring them on because I love to hear from you.
Anyone who's got questions, please put them in the chat or the question and answer section.
I'm just going to bring up this page in case it'll.
And we've got a question here. How do you connect the fingerprint with PowerSchool ID?
Oh, great question. Okay. Let me bring you, I'm going to bring you another behind the scenes. So if you can see the scan window here, this scan window, I'm going to open it up. Hang on just a minute because it's going to come back over to my other screen and then I'm going to bring it back over. So if this is our enrollment screen. So if you're opting to use the biometric piece, what we would do is we would install our software for you, and we would import your student records directly into this into identiMetrics. And this grid is showcasing just the minimal information that we need to pull from PowerSchool to import the records. So we need the student's name, their ID number, their grade level, and their school number as part of that. So once a student, you'll see right here, I'm going to come a little lower here to some green dots here. Okay, so you'll notice here we have some red dots and they're sad, and we have some green dots and they're happy. So the red dots mean I have not created a finger scan template linking it to the student's ID for this particular record. Okay, this particular record, green and happy, my friend Mickey has a scan template that is linked to his student ID. So once a scan template is created, and we call that the identiMetrics enrollment process, once you enroll your students, their red dot turns green and happy, and then their ID number is linked to their scan template is linked to their student ID. So when they come back and put their finger on the scanner, we find a match for that and send the ID number directly into PowerSchool. So it's a biometric replacement for barcode pin pad swipe card is what our ID system does. Very efficient, secure, and a wonderful way to manage your student ID district-wide.
There's one more question along the same lines while you're on the biometrics, and it's where is the biometric data stored?
Biometric data is stored on your server, on your network, behind all of the security and firewalls that you already have in place. So that's where that's stored. We do not host the data anywhere.
All right, looks like we got one more question here. It's I'm ready to get started. How do I get a hold of somebody to get this going?
Excellent, excellent. Well, you can reach out to me. Here's what's going to happen at the close of this webinar. You're going to get a follow-up email from me, and it will include my contact information. If you want to get started, please reach out, let me know, and we'll start the conversation. The other piece of that is if there's anything that you want tailored and you have some specific questions, hey, my school's doing this, or this is kind of my setup, you know, with how's this going to work, please, let's set up a one-on-one demo, and we can go through some of the things that we just talked about today. More questions for me?
Looks like that's all the questions we have right now.
Okay, fantastic. Well, everybody, I appreciate your time today. I know start of year is super, super busy. So I wish you all a successful, wonderful year, and I hope to hear from all of you.